And for What's Hot, we talk about stories that have all of us talking.
And we're joined by Jonna and Willow from Bizstarts Milwaukee. Jeff Wagner also back with us. 12 years after the September 11th terrorist attacks, the U.S. is still searching for the right balance between security and privacy. Some feel the government should not be snooping in on our personal lives, while others believe there has to be a happy medium. Is there a balance between security and privacy?
I don't know that I think there's a well-defined balance between security and privacy at this point, but what I would like to see is a little more public transparency. The NSA can clearly gather whatever records they want from us. I would like them to at least be open about it. I don't like being spied on behind my back. I haven't done anything. If it's a matter of national security, tell us. Your email records may be subject to capture. I think that would be fair.
Yeah, I think actually we've done a pretty good job in the last 12 years of trying to find that balance. I'll tell you, there have been times over the course of the last decade that I thought, we would be in a situation where you'd have metal detectors outside, every shopping mall before people could walk in. We haven't gone that far. Now, you're right, John Ann. The flip side, though, is we have more sophisticated electronic sort of surveillance. And I do agree with you. Quite honestly, I don't have a problem with a lot of the stuff NSA's done, but I do think transparency is fine. Tell people that this is going to be going on, so at least it's not a surprise.
I'm not going to say that I don't have a problem with what the NSA has done. I think that the lack of oversight by Congress is reprehensible. I think what they've gotten away with without being transparent is untoward. And I think they gather information that they don't necessarily need to gather on people who are not under suspicion of committing any crime. However, if that behavior is going to continue, then we need to know about it. We have the right.
Yeah. I will say this, though. The fact is, we have not had a foreign terrorist attack on our soil in the last 12 years. I don't think that's because the terrorists haven't been trying. I think that's because, we've been very, very good. Our government's been very, very good and vigilant in preventing a lot of these things. And many of the stuff that we might not even know about. And I'd hate to see that come to a halt.
So you're not counting the Boston Marathon bombing as a terrorist attack? That was like a one-off?
A foreign terrorist attack.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think because we don't know what they know, meaning the people who are in charge of keeping the country safe, the only place where I see the big difference, at least in my life, is when I go to the airport. I think that has changed, and so sometimes I'm not happy that I have to take off my belt or my shoes, but I understand the reason why, and I think John Ann, the reason you're saying is tell us why we're doing these things.
And tell us what you're doing.
I think I automatically just assume somebody's probably always watching. If it's not cameras on the street, it's something bigger.
Yeah.
And doesn't that creep you out at all?
No, but it's the reality of the world we live in.
I don't really think about it, but I think that's the reality of where we are now. And I think that the younger generations won't know a different reality where we are able to do a compare and contrast.
All right, we're going to leave it at that. Coming up, fans
of What's Hot and our viewers' choice topic of the day.
Again, we're joined by John and Willow and Jeff Wagner of 620 WTMJ. Prescription painkillers like Oxycontin and Vicodin are getting tougher warning labels. The labels clarify that the medications should be reserved for patients in severe chronic pain. It's the government's last attempt to reduce overdose deaths. Should prescription painkillers get the tougher warning labels?
So lame. That's really...
That's what I was thinking. I'm glad you said it.
It's laughable. It's like warning labels don't make people quit doing things they're not supposed to do. Physicians need to be held accountable for prescribing those medicines. My mother passed away due in part to complications from long-term substance abuse of oxycodone. Before the system was so electronic, she was able to game it and get 3 prescriptions going at one time, and we didn't know about it for years. Warning label? I don't think so.
Yeah. Right. It's not going to matter to the people who are abusing it. There's no question at all. Look, I have no problem with warning labels. You can put all the stuff out there warning people about the problems of misuse. But the truth is, the people that are abusing it, they're going to continue to abuse it. And again, I agree with you, John Ann. You want to focus on the doctors. If you got Dr. Feelgoods that are writing too many prescriptions, that's where you need to crack down.
Does this cost more money, these warning labels? Because I think if it does, in the production or whatever, that money would be better used for different programs, awareness, what have you, in order to help people kick this abuse or not start the substance abuse.
Yeah.
And I think, too, that I think, Jeff, that actually opens up a really interesting idea. If you have X number of patients and you write X number of prescriptions for narcotic drugs, there should be some sort of metric to check by.
Yeah, and I think they've started looking at some of that. I know DEA pays attention to that. Matter of fact, there's drugstores around that have started to pull back on some of the privileges that some doctors have because they just look so weird.
Yep, I agree with you on that. So let's move into the lightning round.
Yes, protests are planned at the Packers and Redskins game this Sunday. Some Native Americans plan to protest because they consider Redskins a derogatory term. Should the NFL force the Redskins to change their name? And we've seen this college level, mostly high school level.
Yeah,
up
this is
until
really
this
getting
point.
a lot of attention. I know for their first game of the season, it was a big story, national news story, and there's really this big push right now to change the name.
Now, see, I think that the beef against Redskins is better than some of the other stuff, like the McGuanago Indians or whatever. But still, here's the reality. This is a private operation, and unless and until it starts affecting the team and the NFL in its pocketbook, they've made it very clear that they are not going to change. And honestly, I don't see them selling less merchandise. I don't get the sense that people aren't watching the games or going to the games. And unless until that happens, people can protest all they want, but there's not going to be any change.
Yeah, and I think the owner of the team was saying, no, no, it's not going to change.
But I think you brought up an interesting point, Jeff. The last time we had the McGuanago high school team as a What's Hot topic, you said yourself, like, the group that's affected is not the group that's protesting. When that group has a problem with it, then we should revisit it. And I think that with the Oneida Indians directly protesting, maybe does that color the discussion in any way?
About the term Redskins?
Yeah.
Well, but there's also a difference, I think, between like a public school versus, you know, this private business. And again, the point is, I mean, the NFL is a private operation that's worth hundreds of billions of dollars. They're not going to change unless something hits them in the pocketbook. And I just don't see that happening right now.
Way to stay neutral.
All right, we'll leave it at that. The What's Hot discussion continues online. Find that page at tmj4.com/hot.
Coming up.